Hi, I'm Kurt Fearnley, Paralympian, and I'm coming to you from a Wabakal country.
And I'm Paralympian Ryley Batt, and I'm broadcasting from Gubby Gubby Land.
This is You Little Ripper, the place that we celebrate all things parasport. Now, Ryley Batt, I hate to make you nervous, but I hear that it has been 206 days without you playing a game of rugby, but who's counting?
Tell me about it, mate. Trust me, I am counting. I miss that adrenaline of just being out in the court with your mates, with your community, representing Australia, and just, I guess, beating up the competition. You know, that's why I play. I'm sick of this training crap and, you know, lifting weights and doing some cardio. I want to get out there and put it to work and actually, you know, throw on the green and gold again. And really looking forward to next week. I've got my, since I've been injured at the World Champs last year, looking forward to jumping in the rugby chair with my fellow teammates, the Australian Steelers, at a training camp, testing out the shoulder a little bit. Hopefully it's all good. And then building momentum for our qualifiers for Paris next year, where it's going to be in Japan at the end of June, start of July.
Mate, how do you replicate that intensity of the contact? So in wheelchair racing, I found it so hard to replicate the intensity of a race. Like, you could go into training and you could get 95% of it, but it's the anxiety, it's the pressure, it's the expectation, it's the desire on the day that brings your heart rate from 195 to 213. You know, and it's so hard to emulate. How do you do that in a training camp?
You're 100% right, Kurt. It is so hard to replicate a game. Just the pressure, you know, making passes under pressure, making passes under fatigue, making decisions under pressure and fatigue. It's very, very hard to replicate it while you're in training. And that's why the last few years I got involved with CrossFit, because I was, I guess, getting that intensity higher, because I guess I was competing against able-bodied people. And you know what we're like, Kurt. We're very competitive people, even though we don't have a chance to beat them, we want to beat anyone, you know. And that's where I've got my intensity over years, the last few years. But at the moment, everyone probably knows that I'm a Port Macquarie boy, and that is where my heart lies there. But recently I'm spending a lot of time on the Sunshine Coast. And the reason I've done that is because it's really good for me, for my rehab, for my shoulder, but also up here, majority of Australian players are up here now. And for the first time in my life, I've been playing for 20 years now, Kurt, this year, 20 years. And I've never been involved in a major hub where I'm going to be able to have gameplay. So up here, we've got, you know, the likes of Chris Bond, we've got Josh Nichols, Miko Zane, fellow Aussie players, and a huge program up here in Queensland where I can play 3 times a week against, you know, 20 odd players. And that's a really good, I think, not only for myself personally, but I think it's also fantastic for the whole Australian squad, where we're lifting that intensity, playing more high intensity matches. And hopefully it's going to help us get the result in Paris.
Mate, I just wanted to ask you one question. You did mention CrossFit there. The last time that you were training with, I don't know, me? Who ended up the better? One of us ended up throwing up in the gutter just outside of the CrossFit studio. Which one was it? I just wanted to clarify.
To the viewers listening at home, it was absolute sabotage. All right, I'm not much of a drinker, and I don't promote it, but there was a few gins the night before, and my body doesn't like gin. We didn't have too much, but I just didn't like the gin. So the next morning we did a workout and didn't have that many the night before, but it just kept coming up. And yes, I definitely threw up in the gutter. Sorry for everyone listening at home. I know that is disgusting, but I was trying to make Kurt spew up, and it backfired.
Right,
sabotage.
No, I make no comment on the above. All I heard was, yes, Kurt, you were the winner, and I might be a little bit competitive.
Well, let's get away from the spewing conversations, mate. All right, and you beating me in that workout and making me vomit in the gutter. How are you doing, bud? Are you getting some sleep with these twins?
I am not getting any sleep, but I think that's the cost of having twins. But mate, everything's going well. There's lots happening in life, but one of the most exciting parts of life is when we get emails from the listeners here at You Little Ripper. And we got a great email from Michaela, who wants to hear all about our para equestrian team. Thanks for getting in touch, Michaela. And we agree, and we'll bring you an interview with our para equestrian team over the next few weeks. And also, of course, we'll be looking into all of the results. But thanks, Michaela. Ryley Batt, what's your You Little Ripper moment?
Well, Kurt, I know what your little ripper moment is gonna be. I know the pride you have in Newcastle, and I will not take your you little ripper moment away from you. So my you little ripper moment is Emily Petricola winning gold in the WC4 in Belgium at the UCI Paracycling World Cup. Emily, we follow your results with passion. We love seeing you up on top of the podium, and well done to you, Emily. So that is my you little ripper moment. Kurt, go ahead. I know what yours is going to be.
The great Novocastrian, friend of the pod, Lauren Parker, winning gold at the UCI Paracycling Road World Cup. Look, I rode, I saw Lauren Parker ride her hand cycle so many years ago, and she was the strongest paracyclist that I had ever rode with. And it was her natural ability to be able to corner, her ownership of the gears, and also just the ability to tap into all of her functional capacity while she was on that hand cycle. And I loved seeing her when she got that gold medal. It was thoroughly deserved. She will go from strength to strength. This will not be the last world title that we see from Lauren Parker on the bike. We will see much more. Best of the rest, Ryley Batt.
And before we go into best of the rest, Kurt, I think if you missed the podcast 2 podcasts ago, please go back and listen to it, because myself and Kurt interviewed Lauren, and she's absolutely amazing to listen to, and gave me the goosebumps just listen to her story and how she's overcome obstacles and how she prepares herself mentally while she's in a race. And we're obviously talking about this being her first hand cycling world champs, World Cup, and wasn't too sure if she was going to get the result, and she absolutely smashed the competition in the time trial, but over a minute. That's a lot in a time trial, Kurt.
Oh, it was an incredible result. It doesn't get any better. It wasn't just a win, right? It was a dominant victory for your first. The confidence that's required to go out there so hard and hold on, mate. Like I said, won't be the last world title we see from Lauren Parker.
Yeah, way to set that standard high there, Lauren. You follow up with that now. No pressure at all. But
lots of pressure.
My best of the rest moment, mate, is I love the community of Paralympics, of course, Australian Paralympics. That's why we've both been a part of it for so many years. And it's really cool to see at the moment that Paralympics Australia are holding so many multi-sport events right across Australia. Now, if you haven't seen these multi-sport events, make sure you jump on Paralympics Australia's website. They're all across Australia, all the different sports. And if you are a Paralympian, if you're interested in Paralympic sports, if you have a disability and haven't been in sports, jump on there, go find where these events are. You can try so many different sports. So who knows, mate? Wheelchair rugby winding up for me. I might have to try to find another sport. We could do something together as a tandem. We've talked about doing curling together. You're good on the broom.
No, I was going to be the puck. And
that's right. That's right.
You were going to slide me along the ice. Look, I will cheer on your different sports, mate. But my sporting days, they are well and truly over, unless it's handicapped by I don't know, that my competitors have to have X amount of gins the night before. Look, also a shout out to Darren Hicks and Meg Lemon, who also medalled, as well as Caitlin Schumann, Alistair Donohoe, Carol Cook, and Stuart Jones, who narrowly missed out on podium spots. A huge result for the Australian cycling team, and another benchmark put in their journey towards Paris in 2024. Now, the favourite part of the time here at You Little Ripper, the chance that we get to sit down and speak to the athletes on the ground who are performing week in and week out. We've spoken to the great Dan Michel. We've yelled and shouted and screamed about the amazing performance of our Boccia athletes. It is one of my favourite sports of all time. And as we mentioned on the last episode of the pod, the Aussies have some great results at the Montreal Boccia World Cup. Jamieson Leeson and Dan Michel, they got gold in the BC3 pairs, and Jamieson also took home bronze in the BC3 women's division. So let's celebrate with having Jamieson on the show. Jamieson Leeson, welcome to You Little Ripper.
Thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to having a chat.
Congratulations. What an absolute, just amazing result. How are you feeling?
Oh, look, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, really, over the past year. It's been pretty crazy. the results that we've had in the individuals and the pairs has been really great. So really looking forward to Paris next year and seeing what that brings.
Jamieson, I've just loved watching your progress over the last few years. And you've now a gold medalist. You've won 21 matches in a row. You're undefeated for 21 matches. That's quite hard to do in your sport with such high competition. How does it feel?
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool to be able to say, and I like to think that we'll keep it going for a little bit longer. But yeah, look, it's been such a privilege to be able to play on a team with Dan. He's such an inspiration to me, and we work really well together. So yeah, we've been really working well together over the past year, and our results have shown that, and it just shows that when you put that hard work in, that you can be up there with the top teams in the world.
Tell us a bit about the competition. Who is it that we shall cast as the 2024 Paris Diablo?
Yeah, so at the moment, Dan and I have been playing together in the pairs, in the BC3 pairs. We also play, as well as Spencer Cody, we also play in the individual event. Boccia kind of changed the rules up a little bit and made it so it had to be one male and one female on the team at all times. So unfortunately, Spencer wasn't able to play after that. So it kind of changed things around a bit. But yeah, me and Dan have been really enjoying playing together. And that'll be hopefully what will happen in Paris as well.
Who do you compete against? Tell us a bit about your competition.
Yeah, so we play all sorts of countries. Typically, the Asian countries are our toughest competition. So it's lucky us when we go to the regional championships, which is our qualifier for Paris, we get all the tough teams in our region, which makes it fun. But, we always love the good competition and it makes us better and it pushes us even further. So, yeah, I mean, when we went to Montreal, it was a World Cup, so we had teams from all over the world there. So we get a bit of everyone, but really the Asian countries push us the most.
I've got a bit of a two-part question for you here, Jamieson. So obviously yourself and Dan in the pairs, 21 games or matches, undefeated. This is the first question. How are you feeling with, I guess, that target on your back and sort of being the hunt at the moment? That's my first question. I'm going to go straight to my second question. You might be able to answer it after. Is you're a podium athlete now in the women's division and coming up the ranks. How do you feel your chances are going to be in Paris next year?
Yeah, so it's been really good in the pairs with Dan. It's such a good event to play with him and we really enjoy it. And it does feel a bit stressful when we have won all these events in a row. And particularly when we were in Montreal last week, we were a little bit challenged because we weren't playing our best, but we managed to pull through. And particularly in that final when we played South Korea, we knew, they're the other really tough team in the world. And we knew we had to do our best. And thankfully we pulled through and got that win. But yeah, it can be quite stressful having that pressure on you. And I was talking about it to my team the other day, thinking about how I can get supported through that, particularly coming in the next year up to Paris. So it's something I've been really working on, but, I'm just taking it as it goes and taking the streak. Every win counts now. And 21 games is a good record. So if we can keep it going, we'll keep it going. But, I'm sure our time will stop soon, but we'll see how we go.
Tell us about managing anxiety and when you go into competition. That's a part of the sport. When you mentioned that you're going to look at ways to try to focus in on that, what sort of pathways are there to help?
Yeah, so particularly for me, it's only really been this past 6 months that I've really had to focus on that because I haven't had such a win streak like this and have this much success. So it's something I've been really working on, focusing on. My biggest thing that I do is I just focus on one moment at a time and one ball at a time. And that's particularly important in Boccia because the game can change at any minute. I particularly noticed that in Montreal when I was down losing 4-0 and came back and won the game. So I'm one of those people that never gives up and I always take every chance I can to make a comeback. And particularly with this winning streak, I think it's just really important to enjoy the moment and, be grateful that we have won this many games in a row and be aware that, if we lose a game coming up, it's okay. It's not going to be the end of the world. And one game is not going to impact our plans towards Paris.
I watched Boccia for the first time live in Tokyo. I was very lucky. I was allowed out of the village to watch you guys. It was absolutely phenomenal. And it was hard because obviously the stadiums weren't packed because of obviously the coronavirus there, but it was absolutely amazing to watch. And the concentration you guys have and the patience you guys have, I definitely need to learn some of that on the rugby court. I know that. But what I noticed, and I guess what you can tell the viewers at home is, you have a ramp assistant, but the ramp assistant isn't allowed to watch any of the shots you have make. You have to communicate with them. Can you tell us a little about how you communicate best with your ramp assistant and how you have that amazing bond?
Yeah, so with Boccia, I need to tell my ramp assistant everything that I need done on the court. So it's very much a game of communication, and we always argue. Not only me and my ramp assistant, but everyone always argues about who's got the most stressful job, me or them. It's quite funny, actually. But yeah, they have a very important role in the game as well. And, every little mistake that they make also impacts my game. So it's really important for me. So I have my mum doing my ramp assisting at the moment. So it's really important that we have a good relationship, and, they need to train and practice as hard as we do as well.
I know if Kurt was my ramp assistant, I would probably not listen to him, just move the ramp wherever I thought, because I'm very bad at listening to Kurt like that. So I'm glad your mum listens to you.
I tell you, she doesn't all the time.
We would be so terrible at being ramp assistants with each other, Ryley Batt. We're more like the two Muppets that grumble and joke at people. But let's not even imagine that.
Maybe we need to try to play against a Jamieson or a Dan one day. Have a bit of a game and see if we can get 1 point against them. I know I'd probably just try to launch the ball as hard as I can and knock them all out of the way, because that's the way I do my sport. I don't know what you do, Kurt.
I tell you what, my ramp assistant, even though they can't talk, she gives me hand signals on the court that sometimes aren't very appropriate.
I can't do that, so I wouldn't be able to do that to Kurt.
But Jamieson, you are country tough from Dunedoo. I grew up out that way myself. But how are you adjusting from country life to worldwide superstar?
It's pretty challenging, to be honest. Particularly over the, even after Tokyo. Before Tokyo, it was different because we had coronavirus everywhere. So training was different. We weren't allowed to go to Sydney. I wasn't able to travel to Sydney to train with my team as often as I would like to have. But now, particularly last year and this year, now things have gone back to normal. I'm traveling to Sydney every second week to train with my team, keeping myself busy. But yeah, it's very much a different life to what I lived growing up. So it's a different change, but I really love it.
Keeping yourself busy. Look, here at Little Ripper, we like to talk about balance. So you said, you're always traveling for sport. You're competing at, for Australia. What does balance look like for you?
Yeah, so in my spare time, my very little spare time, I also I'm studying full-time a Bachelor of Economics at UNSW. So that keeps me busy as well. I also, enjoy painting and getting a bit creative in my free time and listening to music. I'm a bit of a creative freak. But yeah, they're my go-tos when I have spare time, which doesn't happen very often anymore, unfortunately.
I can't imagine you having too much spare time going into the future either, to tell you the truth. You mentioned about it's the life that you're living is a bit different to when you grew up. Why is Boccia, and I think I've said it 1,000 times on this show, but I want to get your perspective on why Boccia is so critical for the success of Australian sport. Like what does it mean to yourself, but also to have a pathway down there for athletes who utilize an electric chair? Yeah,
so particularly for me growing up, even worse living in a regional town, there was no sports available for me to participate in competitively. So I was kind of left on the sideline cheering on my brother and sister in all of their sporting careers. But so when I came across Boccia, it was a real life-changing moment for me, because I discovered a sport that I was not only able to play and participate in, but I could go to the Paralympics in, which was mind-blowing for me when I first started. But yeah, as a whole disability-wide level, it's really, really important, because there's so many people like me and with a range of disabilities that Boccia is one of the only sports that they can compete in at an international level. So it's really, really important that we get this sport out here. And, for me, my biggest passion is, and something I want to work on in the future, is getting it available to more regional areas, because there's so many people out regionally that don't have access to it like I did.
Well, there's no better role models than yourself, Jamieson, and you got Dan and Spencer flying the flag for Australia in our Boccia community. Massive congratulations. We've been following your results here at You Little Ripper with pride. All the best in your upcoming tournaments. We will be following you very closely. Thanks for having us. Well, thanks for joining the show, I should say.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Ryley, how great is Jamieson? Like, I've wanted to have her on the show for so long, but she is, just that kind of just genuine, humble, but so bold with where she wants to go.
100%, Kurt. It's fantastic listening to her story and just seeing, I guess, her progress over the last few years. I remember talking to her a few years ago at a Boccia camp, and I think she wasn't even on the Australian side then, and just seeing her come through, gold medal now with Dan and the partners. Getting the bronze medal recently as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing her progress in Paris.
Thank you, Ryley Batt, and thank you to our listeners for listening to our podcast. We love parasport, and we want to share how amazing it is with the rest of the world, but we need your help to do that.
We definitely do. We need all of you to tell your friends what we are doing here, and please leave us a review like Michaela did. A good review. We love that.
And we'll be back with more interviews with your favourite athletes, even equestrian athletes, very soon. So make sure you follow You Little Ripper wherever you get your podcast from.
And would also like to say a big thank you to Toyota for supporting this episode of You Little Ripper. Oh, what a feeling. Thanks, Toyota.
You Little Ripper?